Hi, and welcome to the Beer Temple. I am Chris Quinn, and I'm coming to you from down below in the basement of the store today with two long-awaited beers. I think almost on a national level, oddly, considering how small, again, relatively speaking, these two beers or the brewery that these beers come from are. I'm talking about Live Oak Brewing from Austin, Texas. And before I go any further, I want to thank the guys at the Beerists Podcast, and specifically John Rubio, for sending these beers up. He sent these beers out, I think, within a couple days of them coming on the market there in Austin, Texas, where he lives and where the Beerists Podcast is out of, and I highly recommend you guys check them out. They are an audio podcast on that you can go to, I think, thebeerists.com, or certainly on iTunes as well. But anyway, we have had the Live Oak Hefeweizen on the show in the past, also sent from John Rubio in a growler form, and that was because, one of Texas's, or at least the Austin area's, most ubiquitous Hefeweizen, wheat beers in general, was available only on draft. And it's kind of a funny story because Live Oak is the oldest brewery in Austin. They've been around since 1997, and in craft terms, that's really old. I mean, you're talking about right up there with some of the older breweries like Stone and Dogfish Head and guys that you just think of having been around for forever. And I could be wrong, but as far as I know, this is the first packaging that they've done. Certainly the first packaging they've done in a long time that I'm aware of. And definitely for sure the first packaging they've done of the Hefeweizen, considered by many to be one of the best hefs in the country, if not the best hef in the country. And John was drinking it and said it tasted maybe even better out of the can than it did out of draft, which is saying quite a bit. So you may understand why I'm interested to try this beer. Hefeweizen is a southern German style historically, was kind of relegated to second class status there in Germany for a while when Pilsners were all the rage, and they certainly still are all the rage there. But, the hef style has been making a steady comeback. It's not really a comeback; it's been here for years, and it's quite popular now, not just in Germany but also now worldwide. I mean, when you think of wheat beer, more often than not, people think of this beer, this style of beer, I should say, and that's because of the very pronounced yeast character and the signature yeast character of that kind of phenols and esters that you get, which is kind of a fruity and spicy combination, often equated to banana and clove. So it's a great beer. It's a light beer. It like light, easy drinking. It's low alcohol, and it's very low bitterness. It also tends to be fairly dry, or at least I feel it should be dry, and has a somewhat nice, creamy, smooth mouthfeel. So it's this really low bitterness, low alcohol, lightweight beer that still has some heft to the mouthfeel, and also has plenty of flavor that comes from the yeast. It also has that classic kind of fluffy head from the foam, which from the yeast rather, not from the yeast, from the wheat. It's just you should pour it in those big glasses with the bulb at the top. You're not gonna see the full effect of the head right here, but I'll try to give it a nice hard pour. In general, giving beers a hard pour is not a bad thing. Probably should have done this a little bit before while I was talking about the beer to let it settle a little bit, but you can see quite golden, straw-colored, hazy beer. I just realized I don't have my dump bucket here, so I'm going to have to drink the whole thing. So what am I looking for in my glass maybe had a speck of dirt on the top. Yikes, not ideal in a beer podcast. But what am I looking for in a Hefeweizen? For me, I am looking for drinkability. And when I mean that, this is not a sipping beer. I probably will take some sips of it. This is a gulping beer. And that's not meaning that you're supposed to get wasted from it, but it's meant to be refreshing and drunk in large quantities. And in fact, that's one of the reasons that the glass is shaped the way it is, which I wish I had one here. The tall Hefeweizen glass, it can be about yay high, and they start small, and then it builds up into a bulb at the top. And the bulb is there to, give plenty of room for the foam, maybe capture some aromatics. But the tall shape of the glass also gives a nice gravitational aid when you're pouring the beer. There's relatively, small surface area with a lot of weight behind it, pushing it down your throat, so to speak. So what am I getting at? I'm getting at that's how this beer is kind of meant to be drank. Certainly in a place like Austin, great warm weather beer. And we've talked about Hefs in the past, and I think we've done several different German Hefs, Bavarian Hefs. So go back and look and see what my favorite was. Let's go. My guess is I'm going to stay Weihenstephan was my favorite, but could be wrong. Anyway, great head retention here. Just nice billowy head. Very attractive looking beer. They can be, this light, or even starting to get to the orangey side. One other thing. Ooh, it smells great. You may be able to hear I do have a little bit of a stuffed nose. It's wintertime. I have 2 little kids now, and they are constantly sick, and we're in a vicious cycle where it just is like a whisper down the lane of sickness, and then it just comes back around to the beginning. So it's my turn to be sick right now. So anyway, got a little bit. You might get that classic old school nose whistle that you guys love so much from me, but so So this one is it definitely tilts more towards the estery versus the phenolic side, at least what I'm picking up right now. But it's like banana cream custard with a hint of like a green banana. So you got some pretty ripe bananas, nice and pretty soft, a little bit of brown specks, and then some that maybe are just a little harder and they almost kind of like break off in pieces, if you know what I mean, which is great. And then just a hint, like a little dusting of some like baking spices almost. Maybe a hint of citrus. I would say like a lemony versus a lime type thing. And this just really nice, like, banana cream thing. Wow. So, when you first drink it, the first thing you notice is, there is this really nice little zip to it, just this hint of acidity, which is quite common in wheat beers. And I'm talking about just a bit. This is not a sour beer. It's just this little zing right in there. And you're like, oh, it's got this really nice banana lime thing going on. Banana lime, just a hint. And then you start to get a little bit of that spice in there. The effervescence is there, and it starts to kind of like you can just feel it kind of tingling your tongue a little bit, and then you kind of open your mouth a little bit, or I opened my mouth a little bit hard to drink it, and my mouth was just filled with this banana cream aroma and flavor. So it was like kind of a 1-2 punch. And now I'm getting a lot more like banana saltwater taffy from the nose too. Wonderful, creamy mouthfeel as well. And, what it lacks in bitterness, and you don't want this beer to be bitter. You want this to be about as low on the IBU scale as you can go. that acidity really makes up for it. Now, I've talked about how many beers, how the styles, regardless of style, even if we're talking about barley wine, is about finding the balance there, how the ingredients play with one another. And the acidity here is really key, because it really just finishes you with that nice, refreshing character, rather than without that acidity and without any bitterness or anything. It's not necessarily a sweet beer at all, but it would just kind of fall flat, on your tongue. And you might then want to go grab food. And this would be great for food, but you would almost need food with the beer. But very nice beer. Man, it's amazing. The afterthought of the beer is almost the best part of it. So you're like, wow, that's a good beer. Whoa, that's really a good beer. Because after you drink it, this huge influx of aromatics is just filling your mouth and your nose, reminding you of how good it was. So it's interesting. It's this kind of like 1-2 punch that I really, really like in the beer. So thank you guys so much. Best, I'm not going to say best anymore. I'm going to say favorite. I can't think of one that I've liked more than this. So take that for what it's worth. Hopefully I haven't had these too far forward the entire time. You didn't get to see any of them. I don't have a monitor now that faces me with my new camera. Kind of an oversight on my part, which you have no interest in. But anyway, Live Oak, Hef. Let's keep an eye on what their distribution footprint is going to be like, how far outside the Austin/Texas area they're going to make it. And hey, 6-pack cans. Pretty cool. All right. So now, Live Oak is really known for their classic German style brewing methods and brewing techniques. They do open fermentation here, which is a classic German wheat beer technique. And here they do, decoction mashing, which, you can talk to brewers until you're, you know what? I am going to give this a little dump here in my other glass. Just a little rinse. Decoction mashing is a very long-standing tradition in German breweries, where they essentially take a portion of the grain, the soup, if you will, the porridge that is the grains and the water, and it's how the sweet sugary liquid is created, the wort, and they scoop out a portion of it and heat that portion to an elevated temperature, and then dump it back in, thus raising the entire mash by a certain degree. And they know exactly how much it's going to increase the whole by how much they take out and what degree they heat that to. And the reason they do it was for efficiency, to make sure they're getting all of the sugars, all of the enzymatic activity that they possibly can out of the grains. Now, brewers say that with today's highly modified grains, you don't need to do that anymore. That you can get the same depth of character, depth of flavor. And, they have science to point to and all this and that. The best, certainly dark lagers, I would say more so, but and I don't know who's used decoction all the time, but I can tell you that the Germans still make the best when you get them fresh. And if they're using decoction, maybe there's something to it. It's very, it's not the most practical, it's not the most efficient, and it's not the most cost-effective way to do a mash. So you're really kind of going out of your way, and you really have to believe in this method in order to do it. And this is what Live Oak is doing with this Pilsner. And it's been around for a long time. It's under 5%, just a hair under 5%. They call it a Bohemian-style Pils, which would be a Czech Pils, Pilsner or Kel. Getting a little stuffy here. I'm sorry, guys. Really great. Well, this one's got a hint of, I don't know if it's like protein haze or chill haze rather in there or what, but very light, little hazy. Don't know why. Sometimes if you warm the beer up, it just vanishes. We can see if it goes away. I'm not going to spend too much time doing that. So, maybe slight protein haze. Maybe it's going away. Anyway, pretty beer nonetheless. So, from this one, I am getting a very nice kind of minerally cracker base. And much more pronounced than that is this like lemon and spicy dried herb hop character as well. This is quite hoppy, but it's, you know, old world, noble style hops, Saaz hops, the Czech hops, or if not literally those hops, those flavor profiles that are known for those regions. Maybe a hint of like dried oregano in there. Very hoppy. Certainly a hop forward Pilsner. Pilsners are supposed to be very hoppy. It reminds me a little bit of a tamed down Prima Pils in terms of the amount of hops that they use. Very clean. Good mouthfeel. Nice bite to it. And certainly something that's absolutely crushable as well. Wish it was a little clearer. What are you going to do? Really not getting any off flavors. Czech style Pilsners are known, depending on the type of yeast, to have a little diacetyl in them. Not so much the U.S. versions. Not getting any of that here. Also, no real DMS. Maybe the slightest hint, but I'm not going to trust anything with my nose the way it is. I'm not really getting any. Really nice beer. Quite hop aggressive, but this is a fresh Pils, especially a Bohemian style Pils, which if you've ever had a very fresh Pilsner or Kel, the stuff is hoppy, and I mean real hoppy. But great beers. Thank you again to the Beerists, and thank you guys all for watching. I always love to hear from you guys. You can shoot me an email at info@craftbeertemple.com. We have a Facebook page. We have a website. You can leave a comment on the website under this video or wherever you want. Yeah, that's about it. We're on iTunes. And I have another show, too. If you guys like this show, I do now have a radio show that's available on iTunes and other places as well. It's called the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. It's a very, very, very long show. It's like a 2-hour show almost. And feel free to listen to that. If you want people hear like a, pardon me, if you want to hear a burp, watch this show. Yeah, it's like an inside baseball type show for beer. And anyway, I have to go. I've got some work to do, some beer to buy and sell, and some people to make happy. But thank you guys as always. And I know I've been a little bit rambly, but I don't get down and do this as much as I want. It's been my New Year's resolution for 2016 to do more of these because I do enjoy them. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate all the kind words that you guys have. And until next time, I've got some great beer to drink, and hopefully you do too. Cheers.